He planned a dream trip for $9,400, and his place was given to his brother's girlfriend. She's more fun, they said. He changed the locks, he blocked the cards, he disappeared. But that was only the beginning, because what he found out later turned everything upside down, and no one is laughing anymore. They always say the quiet ones snap hardest. I used to roll my eyes at that kind of line. Not anymore. The message came while I was finishing a work report. Just a soft ping from my phone, a notification banner with words that cracked my entire spine in half. We gave your spot to Kevin's girlfriend. She's more fun. No sorry. No hope you understand. Just a blunt force betrayal wrapped in fake cheer. My own mother sent it like she was texting about groceries. I stared at the screen for a few seconds, letting the rage settle into something sharp and crystalline. I replied with 2 words, got it. Then I started burning things to the ground. Cancelled the $9,400 trip to Japan that I spent 3 months planning. Non-refundable flights? Gone. Hotel bookings? Cancelled. Dinner reservations in Kyoto, train passes, everything? Poof. Dead. I didn't care. I booked it, I'd kill it. That same night, I changed the locks to the family home. The house they'd been living in for 5 years rent-free. The house that was in my name. They thought I'd stay quiet, keep smiling like some dumb golden retriever while they laughed behind my back. But not this time. You think that's harsh? You don't know the half of it. This didn't start with one message. This started years ago. Decades. The moment I decided to be the good son. Dad was turning 60. It felt big. A full circle. He always talked about Japan, Kyoto's cherry blossoms, the shrines, the food. Mom loved sushi like it was a religion. And Kevin, my little brother, used to say he dreamed of eating real ramen one day, not the kind he inhaled during his FIFA marathons. So I planned the trip. I paid for the whole thing. $9,400. I coordinated every detail, mapped train routes, booked restaurants 6 weeks in advance, even upgraded their flights to premium economy. I bought myself a budget seat and a tiny hostel room. Because I didn't care about luxury. I cared about doing something good. Something right. Because that's what I thought love looked like. Sacrifice. Service. Silence. Kevin never cared. He was the fun one. The golden child. The walking sitcom character everyone adored. When he met Mads, everything spiraled. 2 months into their relationship, she moved into my house. No rent, no conversation. She just appeared. Took over my kitchen, my Wi-Fi, my Netflix, my shoes, literally. One night I found her filming a TikTok wearing my dress loafers. Don't be weird, she laughed. I'm doing a character. Kevin just shrugged and called her hilarious. That word became a curse. I still included them in the trip. I adjusted everything to make space for them. Then I got the text. We gave your spot to Kevin's girlfriend. She's more fun. It wasn't even the insult that hurt. It was the certainty behind it. Like it was obvious. Like I should have known I wasn't the favorite. Wasn't loved. Just tolerated. Used. And when I read that message, something inside me changed permanently. They always hooked me with guilt. Not love. Just that slow, subtle kind of manipulation. Kevin's doing his best, they'd say. It's just harder for young people these days. You're lucky to have a job. Not everyone has your drive. That's how it started. That's how I ended up paying Kevin's tuition, buying his books, co-signing a loan for his car after Madison wrecked hers. I told myself it was what older brothers do. I told myself family meant sacrifice. And every time Kevin failed, I stepped in. He lost the job I helped him get after showing up late 3 times in the first week. I covered his car payments. Paid their rent when they needed a little help. And when they said they wanted to come on the trip, I didn't hesitate. I made it work. Because I was still under the illusion that maybe, just maybe, doing the right thing would mean something. But it didn't. That text was the clearest message I'd ever received. I wasn't fun. Wasn't valuable. I was just the guy who paid. So yeah. I burned it all down. When they came back from my trip, they found the locks changed. Their rent tripled. Their debit cards rejected at the local cafe. That was just the beginning. Because for the first time in my life, I wasn't trying to make them love me. I wanted them to regret losing me. And that's exactly what I planned to deliver. One blow at a time. The day they got back, I watched from my car across the street. Madison stepped out first, all sunburned smiles and a carry-on that probably still smelled like stolen hot spring towels. Kevin followed, holding his phone like it was a compass and the world owed him a shortcut. Then came my parents, Mom, gripping her souvenir bags like war trophies, Dad, wearing his Kyoto ball cap like it meant something. Then they hit the front door. Madison tried the knob first. Jiggled it twice. She said something. Probably a joke. Kevin laughed. Then he tried his key. Didn't work. I could see the confusion bloom into irritation. Mom knocked. A gentle tap-tap. As if politeness would crack steel. Then Kevin pulled out his phone. Probably to call me. I didn't answer. Instead, I pulled away from the curb and drove home. To my home. The condo I never told them I bought. Paid for with quiet overtime and all the money they didn't think I had. I made myself coffee, sat by the window, and waited. 10 minutes later, my phone lit up. Dad, hey, something's wrong with the lock. We need to get in. Me, you don't live there anymore. Mom, sweetheart. Stop this. Me, the lease terms changed. Rent tripled. First payment was due last Friday. Kevin, dude. Seriously? I didn't reply. Instead, I checked my email. New message from the bank. Kevin's card had been declined at Beanhouse Cafe. Their favorite spot. The one I'd linked my family account to as a surprise years ago. I had just removed their access. I wondered if he still thought I was being dramatic. I wondered if they realized yet that I wasn't just angry. I was done. I should have felt satisfied. I didn't. Because guilt is a sticky thing. It's not clean. Even when you're right. I kept flashing back to moments that didn't even matter. Like Kevin's birthday when we were kids, when he got the Lego castle and I got socks. I remembered how happy he looked. How I told myself it was fine because he needed it more. That phrase. It had followed me into adulthood like a parasite in my bloodstream. He needs it more. You're the responsible one. The strong one. The quiet one. Strong enough to carry the weight of two grown adults who watched their younger son rot into entitlement and still called him the baby. That night, I poured a drink and stared out the window for hours. And I really thought about what I'd just done. Not just ruined a vacation. I'd snapped the spine of a system that had defined our family for decades. And now, there was no going back. The next morning, Kevin showed up at my office. Unannounced. He stood in the lobby in that same hoodie he wore when we were kids. Said it made him feel safe. I watched him through the glass before I let him in. Not because I was scared. I just wanted to see if he looked like someone who understood what he'd lost. He didn't. He looked like someone who still thought this was a joke. I get it, he said the second I opened the door. You're pissed. But come on, man. You're not gonna leave Mom and Dad homeless. I didn't, I said. They're just tenants now. Like everyone else. Seriously? He laughed. Dude, it was one seat on a flight. No, I said. It was the last straw. He paced. Ran his hands through his hair. Tried every angle. Guilt. Nostalgia. Even mock humility. They just wanted to make the trip fun, you know? Madison brings good vibes. She bring a rent check too? That shut him up. He left after 10 minutes. Didn't slam the door. Didn't curse me out. Just stood there for a while. Then walked out. I watched him go. And for the first time since I was 12, I didn't feel like his shadow. I felt like the sun. Later that week, I got an envelope in the mail. No return address. Inside, a photo from Japan. Kyoto, I think. My parents, Kevin, Madison. Smiling. On the back, one sentence in my mom's handwriting. You used to be so kind. I stared at that for a long time. Then I burned it. Because kindness isn't weakness. And silence isn't loyalty. And sometimes, choosing yourself isn't selfish. It's survival. But deep down, I knew this wasn't over. Because the moment I changed the locks, I didn't just start a feud. I started a war. And I have more than years of resentment behind me. I have nothing left to lose. The first message came at 2:17 a.m. From, Dad. You don't treat family like this. We raised you better. I didn't answer. 10 minutes later. From, Mom. This isn't you. Please come home and talk. Then Kevin, of course. From, Kevin. Okay, you made your point. Can you stop acting like a villain now? Funny how none of them ever asked why I did it. Just assumed it was a tantrum. A phase. Like I'd cool off, come crawling back like I always had. But I didn't feel angry anymore. I felt clean. By sunrise, the texts turned to calls. Then voicemails. Then the guilt machine revved to full speed. They started reaching out to my friends. Even my boss. We're concerned about him, they said. He's under stress. We just want him to come home. They made it sound like I joined a cult instead of breaking free from one. But what really pushed it over the edge, what made me realize how far they'd go to protect their fantasy, was the Facebook post. Mom posted a throwback photo from the trip. Cherry blossoms. Everyone smiling. Madison hugging my dad. The caption: "Grateful for a beautiful family trip. We missed you, but some choices hurt more than they heal. Hoping for forgiveness someday." 142 likes. Comments from cousins. "You're so strong. What a beautiful family. Sending love." I stared at the screen like it had just slapped me. They weren't just rewriting the story. They were painting me as the villain in it. So I replied. Not in private. Not in a call. Not in a quiet email like they wanted. I posted my own status. No photos. No hashtags. Just words. I paid for that Japan trip. Every flight, every room, every meal. 3 months of planning. $9,400. They gave my seat to Kevin's girlfriend because she's more fun. They didn't tell me. They texted me. So I canceled everything. Changed the locks on the house I own. Tripled the rent they never paid. And now they're calling it a family misunderstanding. If survival makes me the villain, so be it. I'd rather be the villain than the doormat. Enjoy your cherry blossoms. Then I turned off my phone. I didn't check comments. I didn't check messages. I went to the gym, took the long way home. Bought myself sushi from the expensive place they always said was too much. Sat at the counter alone and felt something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. Until I walked back into my apartment. And found Madison waiting. She was sitting on the hallway floor like a raccoon caught raiding the trash, makeup smeared, phone clutched in one hand, her other holding a Starbucks like it was a shield. "How did you even get in here?" I asked. She blinked. "Kevin gave me the spare key. Said it was okay." I took a breath. "It's not. She stood up, brushing her hair back like she was starring in her own rom-com. "I think this whole thing got out of hand." "You mean the part where you stole my seat on a trip I paid for?" She flinched. Just slightly. "That wasn't my idea." "No?" I crossed my arms. "You didn't text him, 'Ugh, I don't want to be stuck next to Mr. Buzzkill for 14 hours again?' Because that's what you said last time." Her face went pale. I kept going. "Or maybe you forgot that I know how to check synced messages?" I saw it all, Mads. The group chat with Kevin and my parents. The memes. The jokes about me being the family accountant. The laugh reacts every time I covered another bill. She didn't deny it. Didn't apologize either. "You were never fun," she finally muttered. "You were always just there." Something cold settled in my chest. "That's what you all think, isn't it?" She shrugged. "I mean, Kevin's the favorite. You're the one who chose to be the martyr." I smiled. And it scared even me. Then let's see how fun Kevin is without a place to live, without a car loan, and with a credit score currently plummeting through the earth's crust. Her eyes widened. "You wouldn't." "I already did." She stormed out after that. Left her coffee behind. I poured it down the sink. That night, my dad left a voicemail. Short, croaky, almost like he'd been crying. "We're family. We don't do this to each other." But that's the thing, isn't it? They did. They always did. They just never expected me to fight back. A week passed. Silence. No calls. No texts. No Facebook declarations. Just static. I'd assumed they were regrouping, maybe rallying another guilt parade. But the quiet? It was wrong. It was loaded. And I felt it in my bones. Something was coming. It hit at 3:09 p.m. on a Thursday. An email. Subject line. "You should know the truth." Sent from an address I didn't recognize. But I knew the name, Aunt Lena. My dad's estranged sister. The one who'd vanished from family gatherings when I was 12, who everyone said moved away for work. I hadn't heard from her in over a decade. The email had no body, just a link to a cloud folder. And a password. My heart did a strange stutter in my chest. I clicked. Inside, scans of old letters, PDFs of legal documents, and a few grainy photographs. One stood out immediately. A baby. Newborn. Wrinkled, screaming. Wrapped in a hospital blanket. The name on the birth card, Kevin. The date? 1 year after my birthday. I blinked. Checked again. No mistake. Kevin was born a year after me. But that wasn't what we were told. Our whole lives, we were just 2 years apart. Barely. That's what they always said. Kevin's baby book, Mom's calendar notes, the photos, everything backed it up. Until this folder. The next document was a birth certificate. Mine. Except it wasn't mine. It listed my name, yes. But a different mother. A different hospital. A different city. The same year. And then I saw it. Adoption papers. I wasn't their biological son. I was adopted. I sat in my apartment for hours, rereading every line. It explained everything. Why I always felt like the outsider. Why Kevin was the golden boy and I was the fallback. Why nothing I did was ever quite enough. I was never really one of them. I was a contingency plan. A puzzle piece they tried to force into a frame that never fit. They adopted me when mom couldn't get pregnant. I was the test run. The trial. Then, by some cosmic fluke, she got pregnant with Kevin a year later. The miracle baby. The biological son. And from that moment, I'd been slowly erased. When I finally called Aunt Lena, she answered on the first ring. I told them they were making a mistake, she said before I could speak. You were the best thing that ever happened to that house. Why didn't they tell me? I whispered. Because they were afraid you'd leave, she said. Afraid you'd find your real family. And worse, afraid you'd find out they didn't deserve you. That night, I didn't sleep. I packed photos, letters, the old house key I'd kept out of spite. I wasn't sure why I was keeping it. And then, just before sunrise, I drove. I pulled up to the family house like a ghost returning to the scene of its own death. The porch light was on. Kevin's car was gone. Dad opened the door. He looked older than I remembered. Smaller. Eyes rimmed in sleepless red. He didn't say anything. Neither did I. I just held up the folder. And watched his face collapse. Mom came down the stairs when she heard his voice crack. She didn't even look surprised. Just tired. I dropped the folder on the dining room table. Tell me why, I said. Tell me why you took me in if you were always going to treat me like I didn't belong. Dad sat down, head in his hands. Mom stayed standing. You were supposed to be enough, she said. And you were, for a while. I felt my throat tighten. But then Kevin came. She didn't deny it. I'm sorry, she whispered. But she wasn't crying. And I wasn't moved. You didn't just pick a favorite, I said. You made me earn my place, then punished me for asking why it never mattered. We were scared, Dad murmured. Scared you'd leave. That we'd lose you. I laughed, hollow and cold. You lost me anyway. I left the house without another word. But I didn't feel free. I felt weightless. Like the ground under me had been a lie all along. The only truth? I wasn't their son. I was my own man. And the next step? Was figuring out where I really came from and why no one had ever come looking for me. Because this wasn't just about betrayal anymore. This was about identity. And the truth? Was still hiding in the past. The search didn't take long. One phone call from Aunt Lena and a series of hushed connections later, I had a name, Melanie. My biological mother. She lived 2 states away in a quiet neighborhood with a green roof and wind chimes on the porch. I didn't even know what I was hoping for. Closure? Family? Some missing piece of me that explained why everything else had always felt off? I drove without sleeping. Without music. Just my own pulse thudding like a war drum in my throat. When I arrived, I almost didn't knock. She opened the door before I could. And just like that, I saw it. My eyes. My jaw. Her hands shook as they covered her mouth. Jonah, she whispered. That's what she named me. Not Kevin. Not fun or background noise or buzzkill. Just Jonah. She invited me in. Offered tea. Neither of us touched it. She told me she'd been 17. Pressured. That she wasn't given a choice. That the couple who adopted me had connections through the agency. That they'd seemed desperate, good on paper. She never even got to hold me. The agency told her it was closed adoption. No contact. No updates. And for years, she said, she tried to forget. But you don't forget something that breaks your ribs from the inside, she said, tears falling. I always knew I'd see you again. I just didn't think it would be like this. I sat there in her kitchen and told her everything. About Kevin. About Madison. About the trip. About the house, the rent, the betrayal. And when I finished, she didn't try to justify anything. Didn't make excuses. She just said, you didn't deserve any of that. I'm sorry they got to raise you instead of me. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel like an extra. I felt real. A week later, I stood outside the old house one last time. The place looked smaller now. Weaker. Like it knew I'd outgrown it. Kevin had moved out. The rent I'd raised was just a match. But the eviction notice? That was the bonfire. My parents were moving too, something about downsizing. I didn't ask. I didn't care. I wasn't coming back. I left a single envelope in the mailbox. No words. Just a photo of me and Melanie on her porch, smiling. Let them guess what it meant. Let them stew. That was the last time I saw that house. People like me, we don't get clean endings. No perfect bow. No dramatic reunion where everyone hugs and cries. But we do get choices. And I chose myself. I changed my name legally, Jonah Gray. Started therapy. Cut contact. Melanie visits once a month now. She brings stories and pictures and awkward hugs that get easier each time. She never once asks for more than I'm ready to give. Because real love doesn't demand sacrifice. It offers space. And when I told her I wasn't sure I believed in family anymore, she just smiled. Then let's build a new one, she said. So we are. One piece at a time. Not out of guilt. Not out of duty. But out of choice. And for the first time in my life, I'm not carrying anyone else's weight. I'm just walking forward. Alone, maybe. But never empty again.